Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome. As we are continuing our ATAL Faculty Development Program, today is our fourth day for the same. Today, we have two sessions scheduled, which are based on testing and validation of prototypes and design thinking for digital health and telemedicine. We are truly delighted to have you all with us today for what we anticipate will be a stimulating and rewarding day of sessions. The sessions ahead have been carefully curated to offer valuable insights and encourage critical thinking. Today's sessions will be highly informative and not only based on healthcare, but also with the design thinking. So let's take a moment. Now I request you all to please turn on your cameras so we can quickly take a screenshot. After then we will go further. Now, without further ado, let's start with our first session, which is based on the topic test and validation of prototypes, which is going to be given by Dr. Avnish Khare. Good morning, sir. We are honored to have Dr. Avnish Khare with us today to share his expertise on this essential topic that is testing and validation of prototypes. Please join me in welcoming him, having transitioned from a clinical background in anesthesiology, critical care, and pain management. Dr. Avnish now focuses expertise as a thought leader, educator, advisor, and consultant at the intersection of AI and emerging technologies with medicine. Recognized as a top voice on LinkedIn, he is deeply invested in the Med AI capsule, his personal initiative that embodies his commitment to advancing AI and emerging technologies in the medical domain. His involvement extends to BrainX AI, Cleveland, USA, where he contributes significantly to the promotion of machine learning in healthcare for good. He is also a founder member of Doctors AI, a rapidly expanding community of medical professionals focused on AI in healthcare. In addition to these, he is a board member at the International Medical Board for Business Skills, London, UK, and an invited external expert member on the Board of Studies Committee for Postgraduate Diploma in AI in Healthcare at the Mahatma Gandhi Medical Advanced Research Institute, Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, Puducherry, India. Join me in welcoming him as we explore the world of testing prototypes. Now, sir, I would request you to please start with the presentation. Now it's all over to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a nice introduction. And first of all, I would like to just take a few minutes to thank Global Institute of Technology for inviting me, especially Dr. Rima ma'am, to be part of this FDP. And I'm really excited and enthusiastic as all of you to help explore design thinking in healthcare. And I will share my presentation now. So just let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
And my voice and everything is okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's jump straight away without wasting any time. We have the next like 80 minutes or so to discuss on this topic. And I was there in the inaugural session, and I was really happy to see people at least talking on this topic outside of healthcare, because the healthcare is very much in need of design thinking right now. And of course, one of the important steps of design thinking is testing and validation of prototypes, which is my topic today. And I'll be taking you through a broad overview along with a bit of data into some topics related to this very important field, and where a lot of things are either adopted or they fail in their journey. So it's a very critical part of design thinking, and I would request all of you to pay a lot of attention to what we discuss. And I've tried to keep it interactive. We will have a few questions and answers also, so that you can also participate in it. So what is the objective of this session? Basically, why are we talking about it? Because if you can see the diagram in the bottom right, there are arrows, and we are trying to always aim our arrows at the most central point, that is called bullseye, and that is where validation and testing of prototypes plays a role. It helps us in improving our aim, and to aim for that sweet bullseye in the center with our healthcare products, whatever we are trying to develop. So this session, I will be trying to equip you with the knowledge and tools to systematically think about testing and validation, and to, of course, go ahead with your journey in testing and validating your healthcare prototypes. I'm sure many of you will be going out of this FDP and working on developing a lot of nice healthcare products, and this will be a very important part in your journey. It's very important to collect user feedback, because whatever we are building, we have to first understand that the basic core of design thinking is the user, the end user, their problems, how they are going to be solved, and how they are going to be facilitated. Everything is focused on the end user. So of course you have to take feedback, and this is a process where you collect a lot of user feedback, and also you have to keep refining the design of your validation and testing, because it's like it's not perfect in the first go, so you have to keep reiterating, and we'll be looking at the cycle of iteration also. So this will be our agenda. After a short introduction, we'll be seeing how to design the tests for healthcare prototypes, what are the different types of testing methods, then gathering and analyzing user feedback, how you do it, and what are the ways for doing that. And then a very important part of our discussion will be iteration. As I told you, nothing is perfect from the first attempt. So we always have to iterate and go in a refinement cycle. And that is how you build a great healthcare product. We'll be looking at an example case study where we'll be seeing how this entire knowledge can be put together, and we can apply it in the real world, because our aim is not to just give you knowledge, but to make you like enable you and empower you to actually apply this knowledge in the real world. And finally, we'll be going to the short Q&A if time permits and the organizers permit. I'm open to having a Q&A as well. So let's start with our main topic. And as Simon Sinek, I don't know if you have heard his name. He has written a very nice book called Know Your Why. So it's always good to know the why before starting anything, because how can be figured out later. But if you don't have your why sorted out, why you are doing it, then you will just do it either for fulfilling, like just doing a checklist or something. But then if you understand the why behind it, why you are doing it, then it becomes a natural part of your daily process, and that is where you start getting results. So for me, I think the two main important points why prototype testing is important, and especially in healthcare, because healthcare is a very sensitive area. There are a lot of technical fields out there which have been of course revolutionized by technology and AI, but healthcare, if you have worked before in healthcare, you must be knowing that things move very slow, and a lot of regulations are there, for good, of course, because we have learned lessons in the past in a very bad way sometimes. So importance of prototype testing is you can test it in a safe environment, and then you can do some early identification of issues. You can detect some potential problems early, so that your product becomes safe and effective in the long run in the real world when you deploy it. Because in healthcare, if you fail, you will lose lives, and it's a very sensitive area, just like aviation. So that is why it is very important to identify issues early in the journey, and also that saves a lot of money or investment, hard-earned money of investors, which they put into our product startups. Second is, of course, high stakes. As I told you, healthcare has little room for error, because if you make error, you lose lives, and what happens is your product entirely gets gone into the waste basket, and no one adopts it at all. So you have to do thorough testing, and this is an indispensable part of your process if you want you to get your healthcare product adopted to the end user. So these two are the main reasons. Of course, there are many other reasons, but then these are the main ones. So let us see a few real world examples. I mentioned we have learned these lessons in a very bad way also at times. And this is one of the examples. This is a device called the Therac 25 radiation therapy device. If you go on Wikipedia and type it, you will find a nice article, and I recommend you to go through it after this class. So I'll just provide an overview. What was happening is that this was a computer controlled radiation therapy machine. Radiation therapy is something which we do in cancers. We put radiation on the tumor area, and the tumor size shrinks, or the patient gets treatment. But what happened is that between this period, due to software errors, which missed the eyes of the developers in the development phase, there was massive overdose administration of radiation to 6 people. Now, you might say that it's only 6 people, but then those 6 people developed a lot of complications which could have been prevented. And in medicine and healthcare, I think even a single case is enough to raise some ears, and to make the regulatory agencies very much wary of your product. And in this case, it led to severe injuries and deaths. And these accidents, in fact, have been described as the worst in 35-year history of accelerators. So you can very well understand. So I cannot see the chat right now. If someone is writing in the chat, maybe I'll take some questions in the end if I can do that. The lesson, what is important, the lesson which we learned is that there's critical need of rigorous software testing in medical devices. So this is where we learned the value of testing and prototyping after harming 6 people with radiation. Of course, the radiation should have gone only to the tumor areas. That is where it was meant to be, but it create all the problems in those 6 patients. Another very famous example is the Philips Respironics recall. Respironics is a segment of Philips where they create machines for ventilation and for supporting the breathing artificially. So what happened is a recent thing. If you go to their website, in fact, they have listed it. And that is from where I took this. They had to voluntarily recall certain CPAP and BiPAP machines from the entire USA. And this was due to potential health risks associated with degrading foam. So there's a foam which is put in the physical structure. It is used mainly for reducing the sound, because many times patients use these devices when they're sleeping, so to not disturb their sleep. But then what happened, this foam was getting burnt when it was getting heated, and then it was polyester based polyurethane. And although it reduced the sound for which it was meant, the purpose was met, but then it led to potentially inhalation of harmful particles going straight to the lungs, and this can maybe cause cancer and other serious illnesses down the line. So this is another way in which we learned a lesson, that there's importance of thorough material testing. Even if the material has been approved for medical use and it has been used in the past, how it works in our particular product, we have to develop, prototype, and test it. And maybe we have to perform even long-term durability studies in these medical device components once they are even out in the market. So these two examples, my purpose to show you was that what we are discussing today is not just a theoretical topic, but in fact it is going to determine the success or failure of whatever you are going to build in future after conducting this FDP. So I think now the why is clear with everyone. And there will be no doubt that why we are talking about this as a part of this program. So just to check if you all are awake, I will just have a short poll. So the question is simple: have you been involved in testing a healthcare product? So I'm testing a new thing myself today. So if you can just go to this screen, just a second. So let me even put the link for you. Please don't answer. So you go to this link, and there you can choose, while others, they can scan this QR code and they can answer. So I'll give you a few seconds for this, like a minute or so, and then we'll see the results. So why I want to know this is because whatever we discuss down the line, I want to just have a knowledge of how many people here have actually been involved in testing a healthcare product. I have been involved in validation of AI chatbot called Madhu AI, and it gives healthcare advice to diabetic individuals. 24/7. So when the doctor is not available in between the consultations, the patient can go to Madhu AI and they can get advice about what to eat, what not to eat, what is the portion size, how should I control my sugar if it has gone above a particular level. So all these things. So we validated it using a group of diabetologists, and then we put it out in the market, and still there is testing going on in the final phase before it will be rolled out in a big way. So I think I'll count till 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let me tell you, I have been involved. So
one clarification, sorry to interrupt. One clarification,
Yeah.
what do you mean by healthcare product? Are you referring medical device or
Yeah, it can be any
wellness
healthcare
device
product.
or medical device plus
Yeah, so
wellness
it's
device?
a general thing. I'm talking generally because whatever concepts we discussed today are order healthcare products, include medical devices, include that involved in the process, because the process almost remains the same. Only the regulatory part or some other fine details are different, but then the process in the design thinking is almost similar. So thinking about that, you can answer for any healthcare product which you have been involved in. Okay, so as I can see, there's a mixed audience. So most of the people have not been involved in a healthcare product design. So you will be gaining a lot of insights from this presentation. While others who have been involved, they will be learning how to do it in a better way or a proper way, how it is advised, or maybe they can get some insights of how they can improve in their process in times to come. So let's move ahead. Whenever you are testing for a healthcare prototype, you have an array of testing that you can choose from, and usually a sequence is followed, like how you should go about the testing. You cannot just start from anywhere. So there are three types of testing which you should know about. There's something called as a user testing. There's something called as usability studies, and then there's something called as A/B testing. Usually this goes chronologically from user testing to usability to A/B. There's a difference between the three, so let's see what it is. In user testing, your main focus is to focus on the accessibility, effectiveness, and usability of the product. And what it involves is you observe the users interacting with your prototype. You have developed the prototype, maybe you have developed the AI product, maybe you have developed the chatbot, maybe you have developed the medical device for measuring BP, which has some digital interface. So what you do in this phase is just you observe the users interacting with your whatever you have built, and then you identify the pain points and area of improvement. So you just put it out, and then you just observe the users, ask for feedback. They tell you this can be better. This is my pain point. This is where I can use your product, and then you move to the usability studies, where you observe the real world usage, that it is intuitive and meets user needs actually. So the first phase, you just do user testing a lot of people, that whether they want to use your product or not, and then second, whether they are able to use your product in a efficient way which they want to use it for. So that is a slight difference between these two. I'll clarify it to you more in the next slide. And third is A/B testing, where you have two variations usually, but then you can also have multi variations of the same product, different prototypes, and then you can compare those variations to optimize the design and functionality. So you can narrow down on maybe you have 5 designs of something, and then you want to see which design is the best. It might be an digital design, online design. Maybe people use it for websites or for apps. They have 2 versions, and they push out to both versions to different audience, and then they take the feedback, and then they choose or narrow down on one. So that is called A/B testing, and this is a way of determining which version of your prototype performs better in terms of user engagement and outcome. So always the end goal will be to improve your user engagement and to get the outcome, desired outcome for the end user. That is what design thinking is all about. So this is what I was telling. So user testing and usability testing. In user testing, you check a broad landscape, and you see whether the users actually need your app. Are they having the pain points which you are assuming they have? So you push to multiple users and you test on those users. This prototype can be even a more crude version, maybe a very crude form, just to validate the pain points that actually are the people having the need of those products or not. And then once you have a more polished prototype, you can go for usability testing, where you can decide, okay, now you focus on improving your product and making it more and more usable for the user. Once you identified the user, then you make it more usable. So this is the difference between the 2 types of testing, and you have to decide on which type of testing to use depending on the phase of development of the product. That also we'll be seeing down the line how to proceed with this. And this is what I was talking about. There's something called A/B testing, and then there's something called multivariate testing. So only the differences in A/B testing, you have 2 versions. And it is usually easy for A/B testing because the results are either this one or that one, and then analysis is also easy. But in multivariate, maybe you can put different colors of the same button and then check which button has the most engagement. It is used a lot in digital marketing world, but then even for products, healthcare products, this is a huge area of development. And also you can try to develop some digital multivariations so that you don't burn a lot of money. And then once you have narrowed down on a particular version, then you develop a physical model out of that, if your product is a physical product. So this is how you can do that. You can develop simulation, and this will be seen in the future of prototype testing that I will cover towards the end. So that is one area which you can use in this type of testing. So how do you select the test methods? Of course, I told you that choosing the methods will be aligned to the project stage. If you are using it early prototypes, then it will be usability. Of course, initially you will use the user testing, then usability, and then finally the A/B testing for feature refinement, maybe for deciding the color of the button. But then you have already tested the usability of that button, that this button is usable at this place of the app or in the mobile phone. So it is usable. But now which color or which form, which shape, how many variations you can check, that will come under A/B testing. And first user testing, what it will be like whether the user are even using your app, even they're going on their app or not. That will be the first stage of user testing. This is how you will proceed on the testing methods. A/B testing, I told you, for most effective prototype design, and the advantages, you can test on, you can form 2 groups of users. You can push out one version to one group, one other version to another group, and then gather the feedback. Analysis is fast, it is easy, it is fast to implement. You can just push out the good version in later products and just remove the version that was not liked. So this is like yes or no type of a testing. But of course, whenever you are testing, you should always and collecting user feedback. Of course, you are collecting a lot of data, and now there are a lot of regulations coming up with acts like DPDP Act, so DPDR Act. So you should be very much in line with the ethics and the legalities of how to design testing, how to prioritize patient safety. Always, that should be the first thing in healthcare, especially just like aviation. You should obtain informed consent for all the testing that you do, for all the results that you take, and especially with, I think, with DPDR, you need consent at multiple steps, and you have to tell the user exactly what you are going to use the data for, and how long will you keep it, and whether you will delete it. And they also have the right to withdraw the consent and to ask you to delete the data at any point of time during your testing process. So I think you should keep all these considerations also in your testing design. So the message is strictly follow ethical and legal considerations. Don't try to work around them, because later on what will happen, it will become like a pain point for you in the later stages. The more streamlined your ethics and legalities are from day one, the more easier it will be for you. This I talk even from my experience working as a consultant and advisor for many healthcare startups. They realize down the line that having an ethical expert or a legal expert even before they started the journey of design thinking would have been a good idea. So I think this is a message which I want to give. These are the things which you should consider if you are having a ethical discussion in your team when you are trying to develop these tests. You should always understand how you will take the consent and what will be the procedures, how will you test, and what are the potential risks. You should always develop a strategy for risk mitigation. You should always have a plan. I was on a committee for uh, for uh, for expert projects in one of the institutes, and all the presenters, they had a slide about risk assessment and mitigation, and most of them had put there is no risk or not applicable. There is no product in the world or no nothing that you build that has zero risk. Even the most safest product in the world has some sort of a risk, and always you should try to identify those in time and have a proper strategy in place so that you can deal with them later on. And still, even if you have all the plans in the world, anything can go wrong. You saw two examples just now at the starting. So always explicit consent must be obtained before any testing begins, because even your testing might cause harm to the tester. So this should be on your mind at all times. Second, I told you there are already rules like HIPAA and GDPR, and now we have a personal data protection rule for especially for India coming up, which is called the DPDR Act. And still the rules have to be formulated, and the government has asked for feedback. So you can go to their website and provide feedback as a affected person from DPDR, and uh, they have told that you should have robust security measures. So before, what happened is we could have some sort of it was self-implied, like you should have some sort of cyber security, but now they have clearly mentioned that who is responsible for any kind of data leak, and who is the owner of the data, and who is fiduciary, who is the processor. So they have given all definitions in the DPDR Act. So I would advise you all to go through it in detail, and when the rules are formulated, so you can design your testing and consent process around those around that act, and it's compliant to DPDR as well. Then bias mitigation. We don't live in an ideal world. We build products for an ideal world, but then why they don't work on ground, or sometimes what they're intended to be in a particular population, they don't provide that full benefit, because we have diverse people in the world. We should build products for diversity, and hence we should have diverse participant groups in our testing to avoid the skewing of results, to have a representative population. The product where it is going to be deployed, you should have the same kind of participant distribution in your testing groups, so that you are more closer to the reality when you are testing, so that you don't get surprised, because your testing and your product might perform very good in the testing and validation phase, but then when you put out in the real world, it will fail miserably. This happened in one of the retinal image detection AIs, in which they were predicting diabetic retinopathy. Diabetic retinopathy is a type of a disease in eyes which happens because of prolonged diabetes, and they developed the AI camera which was looking at the retinal images, and it could be deployed even outside the hospitals. But then when they deployed it in a certain geography, all the results started coming bad, because the training data which was used was from a different population, and that had different sort of bias parameters, and so it caused a huge. So they had to roll back the entire project, and it caused a lot of waste of money and resources and time. So this is why this is so important. And finally, transparency. I see a lot of startup founders or entrepreneurs come to me and ask me, why is my product not getting adopted when it is so accurate, so wonderful, so it gives so nice results, even it is more effective and accurate than a real doctor, human doctor. So my answer to them is that, do they actually understand how you are doing this, and what has gone into it? Do they really have the transparency built into your product, and how you are addressing the ethical issues, and who will be legally responsible for anything that happens? So that sort of transparency should be there from day one, even with testing, because even testing can cause harm. We should not have that misconception that testing is a very safe place and only harm happens in the real world. So you should be very transparent, and all these four things on the basis of ethical considerations when you are developing a healthcare prototype. So you should keep all these in mind when you are testing your prototype. And as they say that ethics is a very tangible word. What is ethical for you might not be ethical for me. What is ethical in a particular geography might not be ethical in another geography. Some people are very easily giving their data southeastern Southeast Asia part of the world, while in the Europe and all those areas, they're very much concerned about privacy. So ethics can be different, they can be relative, but then there's something called as regulations. The regulations are something that ensure that certain non-negotiables are not cut around, and we don't work around those things. So regulatory considerations are always equally important as ethics. Some of the some of the regulatory considerations, most of them have been developed in the West in the past, and the very famous ones are FDA, Food and Drug Administration. They regulate medical devices in the US, and even in many other geographies, we always ask for US FDA approval of many devices. There is an organization called CDSCO, which is also approving medical devices. In Europe, there is something called the Medical Device Regulation, which sets standards for medical devices in Europe. There is also something called CE certification, and then there's something called British Standards Institute. So all those regulatory considerations need to go in depending on the type of healthcare product. As one gentleman, are we talking about a healthcare product or a wellness product or a medical device? Anything that you build, anything that you're building, even a software or even an app, there are regulations out there. You need to go to the specific regulations and be very thorough with them once you are getting started on the journey. If you don't have knowledge yourself, don't worry. As a founder, you can hire someone who has legal expertise in this area. There are many regulations even around intellectual property, so all those should be secured. When you are in the testing phase, you should not leak out your IP in the testing stage, because then your investment might be hampered. We'll be looking at this topic in detail tomorrow, which is about startups and entrepreneurship in healthcare. That is also being taken by me. And finally, there's something called HIPAA Act, Healthcare Insurance and Portability Accountability. This act, we had the electronic medical records in USA. That was when they were digitizing everything. So they had the similar kind of situation that digital data is very easy to be leaked, be hacked, and all. They had a similar sort of DPDR moment, which was called HIPAA. It is Healthcare Specific Act, and they have told that these are some sort of 18 or 20 identifiers which have to be removed from any data which you are using for building your product. So those like name, phone number, address, all these things, if they are present in your data set, they have to be totally removed, and data set has to be anonymized to be HIPAA compliant. So if you are planning to build your product and launch it in the market or US market, then you need to look at the regulations and specific geography specific regulations, and you have to be very much aware. And even the testing phase, this applies a lot. Okay, so once you have decided which type of testing you are going to use, you have designed using ethical and regulatory considerations, you have considered everything, and you have conducted a few tests. So the heart of testing and validation is gathering user feedback. If you just test and don't collect it in a proper way, in a proper format, which is analyzable later on, then you have done a not a good job. So there are many ways to gather user feedback, and now with the digitization of everything, now things have become very much easy. Even something as simple as a Google form can be floated, and you can collect instant feedback, and surveys and interviews can be conducted easily now online, even on remote platforms which are secure, like Microsoft Teams and many other platforms, enterprise softwares. You can directly collect feedback from the user on user experience. You can work with them on the same screen on the product, and then see how they are interacting with certain elements. And there are some softwares which can give you even the feedback of where the user spend the most time in your app. So those all are gathering user feedback. But the thing you have to understand is that surveys can gather the quantitative data, while interviews provide more qualitative insights, where you talk more about the user experience in actual. But then in form, you can ask some numerical indicate parameters, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you rate. So those are easy for surveys, and while more personal questions or more detailed answers you can take on interviews. Second is focus groups. Like you can make a group of users where you can also help facilitate group discussions, and you can take their suggestions. I am working with a few startups who have formed groups on WhatsApp also, and even on tools like Discord, where you can directly upload the features. You can tell this feature is more important. So it's like a group activity where a lot of users are interacting at the same time, and you can gather a lot of user feedback. And finally, one is called shadow implementation, which where you just observe. You just put out a prototype, and then you just observe how they're working, what they're doing. You don't interact with them, but you interact with the prototype that they interact, and then you identify usability issues, and then you correct them, and then maybe you can take other forms of user feedback. So you can switch between these different modes of gathering user feedback depending on your purpose and goal. So till now, we have seen what are the testing, how to design and how to decide, and ethical regulatory concerns, and the first most important initial part of gathering user feedback. So let us take another quiz question. This has one right answer. So if you do odd one out, you can very well guess the answer. But just let's see how many people are listening. So we move to the next question. So you can either scan the QR code similarly like before, or you can use the link which I put in the chat box, and you can answer this question and hit submit. So a lot of people sometimes they feel that because, for example, if I am a medical professional and I am building a healthcare product for medical professionals, then I can make a guesswork that okay, I understand the medical professionals and their needs and what they want, and I can build the best product out there. But then it's always good to be objective. The message is this one: you have to always follow the scientific process. You might be you might be having very good instincts, but then always the data should speak what you want to listen. So I'll give you a few more seconds, like 30 seconds to answer, and we'll see the results. Okay, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I think whatever I was explaining, I think this is the correct answer. And heat maps, surveys, user logs, all these are used for collecting user feedback and are well used in the industry, and they've got a good backing, scientific backing, and they're reliable methods because we have been doing them from long time. So this is the correct answer. So I think almost everyone got it right, whoever answered it. Nice. Okay, so good. So means you get the point that the main message is to not use guesswork, but to use a proper scientific, reliable method to collect user feedback, and that helps you even in crafting your pitch, which topic which we'll be covering tomorrow, how to craft an effective pitch, and this metrics or user feedback in numbers is a very important part of a proper effective pitch when you're going for gathering investment. Okay, so you have done everything. You have designed it properly. You have conducted user studies, usability studies, A/B testing. You have collected good feedback. But then, what happens is there's always some challenges and some solutions for certain common things. So let us look what happens. Many times, for example, I just ran a quiz and a poll just now. I see there are more than 50 participants, but then only 9 of them responded. Sometimes it is because of technical issues, but many times what happens is there's limited user engagement. Uh, Sometimes because of reasons obvious, sometimes not obvious. That there might be some inertia. There might be maybe they're not understanding how to do it. There might be many issues. But then what you can do as a tester is you need to implement some strategies to recruit and retain those participants for user testing, make it more interesting, make it easy for them, make it clear from them that what's in it for them, like why they should do it, why they should participate in it. If it is clear, as I told you, if the why is clear, then you will get good engagement. But if the why is not clear, then of course this is a big challenge which many tests face, and a lot of testing fails down the line, and you develop a very wonderful prototype, but then there's no one to test it. So this is one of the challenges you should keep in mind when you are designing your testing methods. Second is we live in a very fast world. If you guys have been following AI, ChatGPT came in November 2022, and now we are in 2025, not even 3 years. And we are having ChatGPT 5. We are talking about it. So everything is moving very fast. You have to conduct this testing and validation. You have to scale it up. You have to wrap it up. You have to move to the next phase, and then you have to keep doing this in a more and more increasing. The speed is only increasing because the competition is high. There's a lot of investor money. There's a lot of investor impatience. So a lot of things are going on behind. But then you have to also not reduce the quality of your testing. You have to, because as I told you, because if problems happen later down the line, then again your entire purpose fails. So you have to balance speed and thoroughness, and you have to give equal importance to both. It should not become so slow that your product becomes outdated, and you should not also be so fast that you miss some certain important steps. So how you can do is you can prioritize some critical testing, and the more and more you do this process, the more and more iterations you do, the better you get at developing processes and workflows. So the first time it's always going to be very difficult, very slow, and you should not promise too much in the first iteration. But then as you get used to it, you will be having good balance between speed and thoroughness, and that's how successful healthcare startups, healthcare products, successful companies work in the world. They have found that sweet spot of balancing speed and thoroughness. For example, OpenAI, they are having good speed. They are putting out models at a good speed. They are training. They are, before their competitor puts out something, they are ready with something new. But then again, they have so much processes built behind those that it's so thorough that they're able to launch it seamlessly and without any major glitches. So that is how you do it. Finally, third challenge which I would like to highlight. This is of course not the entire comprehensive list, but these are the most important ones. Third is managing feedback from diverse sources, because sometimes your product might, and it's always also good to have a diverse feedback from different kinds of users. As I told you, to have a to have a representation of a geographical bias in the population. But then again, managing feedback from diverse sources becomes a challenge, because if there's someone is a technical user and someone is a non-technical user, they both will have different kinds of feedbacks and metrics that you might have to design for both of them if your product is catering to both the populations. And then it becomes very difficult in managing feedback from diverse sources, because sometimes the feedback might be conflicting also. One user wants a particular feature while the other user doesn't want that. So what you do, you can either you build two versions of your product or whatever decision you take, but then managing feedback also is a big challenge when such thing happens. So these are the common challenges. So once you have the data, it's always a practice to analyze it. And that's how data science has evolved into such a great field now. With more and more data coming in, we have better tools to analyze those data, and more power to transmit that data in real time. So that is why this analysis part is also becoming very exciting field. There are different types of analysis. The two major ones are quantitative and qualitative. So as you can see, quantitative is to analyze the numerical data. A lot of data will be numerical, and the second is qualitative analysis. A lot of data will be unstructured, interview transcripts, observation notes. So you will. So now with the tools like LLM and Chat GPT, you have tools which can ingest that data, and then unstructured data, and then it can give you some structured insights, like maybe the sentiment analysis of user feedback. So all these small things which were very difficult before, and you needed an entire team to build some product for you. Now that is becoming easy, and qualitative analysis is also becoming possible in a big way. And finally, if you mix the both, it becomes a mixed methods analysis, which is usually the best and gives a comprehensive understanding. So you should do both these methods, and you should maybe hire some analysts for yourself, because it's a team sport. So they are equally important in the journey of design thinking for healthcare. So after analysis, you will of course see that there will be some bias in feedback collection. No matter how unbiased you be, there was, I think I read somewhere that human mind has around 400 cognitive biases. And at a moment in time, we are always having some sort of bias in our mind when we are presenting, because for example, in this meeting, I have a bias that there are people who are not medical professionals, so many medical professionals. So I might be biased. I might be wrong. Maybe a lot of you have a lot of healthcare experience, and maybe you are even better than me at understanding healthcare. But then these sort of biases are always present in our mind, and whenever we are interacting, whenever we are doing something, whenever we are filling surveys, we are biased. So what happens is there's always going to be bias in your feedback, but you can address that by using these things. Like you can have a diverse participant group, so you get the perspective of multiple people, and it all gets balanced. So you have equal representation of all the views. Then you can do a neutral question design. Don't put a leading question that do you feel the product is very nice. So this is a leading question. So the person will always be anchored or biased that okay, it's a good product, I have to tell that it's a nice product. So always design in a neutral way, like what do you feel about this product, how was your experience using it. Don't say that did you find it good for your purpose, so then that good becomes a leading or loaded language question. And finally, you should always have a blinding if as far as possible. I know it's a bit difficult because in developing the exact same product without any use is difficult. Sometimes even in medical trials, we can't do proper blinding, but then as much as you can try to do it, and then you can get a better study, like you can get a controlled trial out of your product, and that's also good for publication later on. So this is how you address those biases. And now I think we move to the final topic. The next 15-20 minutes we'll discuss, and this is very important because this is how the entire thing comes together. we saw them separately, like designing and regulatory, ethical, and all those aspects. We saw it separate, analyzing, collecting data. But this doesn't happen in silos. It's usually a process, a cycle, where you have to go through this cycle multiple times. You have to iterate it. Iteration means repetition. So there are usually mostly four major steps. First is you have to build the prototype. You cannot test anything that doesn't exist. So the first step will always be you build, and that is where you can either use your current assumptions. But I would say, since we are talking about design thinking, I think you should focus on the user endpoint from day one and go to the user, and don't assume anything before building even a prototype. Second thing is, you should always measure. You should not use guesswork. You should collect data in a scientific manner using reliable tools. Use the proper testing. You collect feedback from your users as much as possible, and then learn from that. Analyze the data to inform the necessary improvements in your product, and finally you repeat this. Like, one iteration is not enough. As I told you, nothing is perfect on day one. You have to do multiple iterations, again balancing the speed and the thoroughness. You should not continuously keep continuing on this before even releasing your product. Otherwise your product becomes outdated. So what you can do is, you can do some iterations, develop a good product, put it out in the market, and then keep continuing on this process of gathering feedback even from your users, the real world. That is what all good products do. And then they keep improving, and they put out different versions, like ChatGPT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is how they keep going along this refinement cycle. It is called the product refinement cycle. What is the benefit? Again, I told you, iterative prototyping, it helps you take chunks at a time. You don't digest the entire thing. It becomes very difficult. So you can do early detection and resolution of small problems before you develop a full scale product. So this is the main advantage. And continuously, when the user is involved in the entire cycle multiple times, they get used to the product. They get involved in the process, and that is how you do justice to the design thinking, and you build, and you make them a stakeholder as well as partner in the development cycle. So if you keep iterating, it leads to enhanced user engagement. And finally, regular refinements lead to a more intuitive and efficient final product. The change is the way of life. Everything in this world changes. Nothing is static. We all are evolving. We have evolved into our present forms from the prototypes of like Neanderthals and monkeys and apes on trees. The nature did this process of iterative prototyping, and then this is the product that we are presently in the form of, and still we are evolving. With time, we are still in this cycle of refinement, and we are doing iterative prototyping. If nature can do it, then I think we should learn from nature, and we should do it also. So let us have another quiz. So the question is, which of the following is not a benefit of iterative prototyping? We saw a few just now. So just try to answer this question. So maybe I'll move to the next screen. So the process is similar. You just have to scan the QR or go to the link and move to the third slide, put your answer, and click submit. I hope to see more participation. I hope I'm not boring you all, and it makes sense and you're able to understand. I've tried to keep it very simple and practical and applicable so that once you go out from this session, you can apply it to your learnings and get to building something. So there's one correct answer in this. So a few more seconds, I'll wait, and I'll move to the answers. So the core purpose of iterative prototyping is to get user feedback as early as possible. If some of you guys are from software development field, you must be knowing that there was something called as waterfall, and now there's something called as agile methodology. So before, they used to develop the entire product before delivering it to the customer, but now they develop certain small features and keep shipping it out so that they get user feedback on that particular thing, and then so I got scared with this voice. Okay, so the answer is, of course, delayed user feedback. This is not an disadvantage, but a benefit of prototyping. So just let me see the correct responses. I hope most of you have got it right. I've kept it very simple. So 2 people got reduced development. Development cost. So yeah, so this can be a bit confusing. So let me clarify. Reduced development costs. You might be seeing that iteration will lead to more cost, but let me tell you with the real world example that if you do a waterfall methodology and then develop an entire product and ship it out to the user, and then they don't use it and they entirely change the product from scratch, they say that this is not at all what I imagined. This happens a lot with people who are building websites, and the end user says, I didn't imagine this in my mind what you're building. So that will lead to more costs. That will lead to more development costs in the long run. While if you're doing iterative prototyping, you're developing small features and getting user feedback, shipping it out, develop and making small changes, and those are less costlier than changing the entire product altogether down the line. So that is, yeah, that, I think that should clarify. Let us see an example case study. XYZ telehealth platform improvement. I don't want to take names. So a telehealth platform, for example, they come to you and they are facing challenges with user interface design. It's not so friendly. There's low adoption rates among both healthcare providers and patients. So this is a problem statement. This is what we are dealing with. Suppose you build a company and you are facing such a situation. So what should be your approach using this refinement cycle? Although you should have done it before, but then, as I told you, this process is like a cycle. It keeps on continuing, and if you can do it even down the line, once you have shipped out your product, you should do it. So what the team did was they implemented the same cycle, and then they developed a prototype. They developed a new version of the product, which was focusing on core functionalities. They talked more to their end users. They took a lot of feedback. They asked what are the pain points, and they developed built a prototype, and then they started conducting usability testing sessions. They started putting it out to the users and seeing if they're able to use it properly, and they kept on improving with each iteration. And they learned the key pain points, like there was complex navigation, unclear instructions. So they took all these feedback one by one, they improved, and they prioritized those features for improvement. And after multiple iterations, they found that they had redesigned the user interface, and the navigation was a lot more simpler, and clarity was a lot more enhanced. And they built it along with the user. They tested it with the user. They validated it with the users, and that is why they got a almost 30% increase in user adoption and positive feedback. So this is how we put everything together. This can be any company, any startup, any product. This can be your company. So how you do it, whatever we learned in the last 1 hour or so, I think this is how you put it together. But then sometimes confidence is good, but overconfidence again makes us into some makes us commit some bad mistakes. And these are the common pitfalls of prototyping and iterative refinement. So what happens is sometimes there's a tendency in human brain. We have got the neocortex, and it does a lot of optimization in everything we do, also the cause of our procrastination. But then sometimes what you can do is you might spend excessive time perfecting a prototype, when in fact that much perfection is not expected from the user. Or you might have a user group that is again having a lot of feedback regarding refinement, and you keep getting biased to that particular sort of group of users, and you do a lot of over refinement of your product, which will lead to increased cost and delayed deployment. And your competitors might come out with a lesser perfect version, and they might be more successful. We have a lot of examples in the market of this. So what you should do is you should always focus on the core functionalities. That is why when you are designing the testing, you have to prioritize the features on which you are going to test. And that is again where I told you that there are some platforms which I'm part of, like Discord, and there's a startup that has like 10 features which they have, which they want to develop in the next 1 year. But then they ask us to prioritize which feature should we focus on first, and we upvote. We put a vote on that, and that feature gets upvoted and gets on top of the list. So this is how you should prioritize the features. You cannot work on everything at the same time. It will only lead to delays and more cost. Second thing is feature creep. What happens is you are building something and then you end up building something entirely different, and the user says this is not what I wanted. This is a very common thing which is happening in many healthcare startups, many AI products. They are building something and then they take the feedback, then that feedback is entirely different, and they started with the product and then they end up catering to an entirely different market, and they waste a lot of time, and they lose focus actually. So you should have a clear project scope and implement a change control process. You should not be so uncontrolled that your entire product only changes. If this is the case, you scrap the project, you start on a new project, and you build it from ground up on for the new market. Don't just try to adjust and build so many features into your product that it becomes so confusing that who it is for, and then it leads to lower adoption. And finally, the most important is ignoring user feedback. You have designed your testing, you have validated it, you have collected user feedback, you have analyzed it, you have taken everything. But then in the end, you decide to ignore it. You just simply say that, no, this doesn't match what I feel or believe is to be true. And that is where confirmation bias creeps in, our own confirmation bias. So we should always have a diverse team view, diverse feedback we should take even in our analysts, from our members of the team, and throughout the development process we should do a lot of brainstorming. We should have open feedback, open communication channels between members of the team, not work in silos, and not have a single centralized authority making every decision. So this is how you can avoid this sort of a problem even when you're doing everything. So that is like that's a big disaster. So what are the best practices? You should set clear objectives. As I told you, set specific goals for each iteration. Okay, in this iteration, we will focus on this feature. At the next feature, we will focus on next iteration. So that should maintain your focus, and you should keep it digestible for you and your team. Second is maintain open communication. All stakeholders should be able to say anything to any feature and give their feedback in all manners that they feel comfortable in. So the third thing is should be willing to pivot. As I told you, if something is not working out, be ready to adapt to feedback. Understand that, okay, this idea was not so good. Accepting, I know, is difficult, but then not accepting and then ending down the line burning millions of investor money, that's more problem. So be willing to pivot and to be ready to test even your own hypothesis, and act on those. And finally, very, very important, always document everything. I've seen few startups, they do a lot of verbal activity. They have everything good on discussion on meetings and everything, but then they have no processes, no documentation, no detailed records of anything we discussed, and everything just has to be repeated or redone in every iteration, in every meeting, and that just keeps you stuck at the same place. So always document those changes. If you are doing anything, make sure to have it on paper and share it with your entire team, and even you should include the reasons why you did what you did. So that helps you avoid the same mistake in future. So these are the best practices. So finally, to the last section, a few more minutes, 5-10 minutes. As I told you, everything is evolving, and so is prototype testing. It is not the same like it used to be before, building those thermocol models and then testing on those. I think the world is changing pretty fast. We have technologies like AI, we have technologies like digital twin, we have technologies even like quantum coming up. So there's going to be more and more effect of these technologies on prototype testing, a lot of ways and things are going to change. Whatever we studied today might not be relevant 5 or 10 years down the line, and it might be an entirely different sort of a topic which we might be discussing. But you should keep these trends in your horizon, and you should keep working on those. That there's increased use of simulation, so you should also try to use as much as simulation or advanced simulation tools which are available in your domain to predict the prototype performance, and to reduce the costs as much as possible, and to engage more and more users across geographies. You might not reach out with a physical product in some place, but then your simulation or maybe something like that can reach those populations for which you are building. Second is integrate AI. Wherever there is data, you have to definitely, the ultimate aim is going to be to move from data to information to knowledge to wisdom. So that is how it will go. It will always evolve. So we are getting more and more data that is swelling up. The bottom layer is swelling up, and so will AI. Will definitely be implemented, and data is the food for AI. So we should also keep that in mind. The more we collect data, the more AI is going to be applied, and we will have more AI tools to give us better insights. So why not apply it for prototype testing? Especially in the drug and pharma industry, people are now using. There are some startups which are reducing this testing time from years to maybe months. So we will have more and more better drugs in times to come faster. So that is the integration of AI. And finally, we discuss a lot about data, but then when with data, if AI comes, so comes cybersecurity. If you are collecting data in any place, even the cloud or your local server, it is always prone to be to any cyber threat, prone to be hacked, prone to be leaked. And in healthcare, it might have some dangerous consequences. So we need to be very careful about cybersecurity, because this field is also evolving. We should understand these advanced tools are also available with the hackers and with the bad actors. So they will also use this for all malintentions. So we have to emphasize on cybersecurity also, along with data and AI. So I just want to know, this is a trending topic, and I want to know how many people of us are familiar with the concept of digital twins. I have seen a few digital twins now coming up for diabetes management, and even for healthcare resource optimization, supply chain optimization. I've seen a few startups, but how familiar are you? I would like to know. I think this is the one of the last polls. I think there's one more after this, and I will finish on time. So the same 9 people are very active, and I appreciate. Okay, we have a 10th one. Okay, so most of us are, and many of us are familiar, in fact, and some have heard of it. That's a good thing, but it's still not clear, and I am sure it will become clear more with time, because we'll all be experiencing those digital twins ourselves in times to come. A lot of chronic diseases are going to be managed using digital twin technologies. There are a lot of role in oncology and cancer treatment protocols management. So a lot of digital twins are going to come up in times to come. And those that are not familiar, I would like to advise that after this webinar, just go and Google on digital twins and maybe type the keywords prototype and testing and validation, and you'll get a lot of insights into how you can now employ this technology for your use case as well. So finally, what is the benefits? I think we all know about AI. We have been talking about it a lot, and I think we had a session also. So AI is good for 2 things: prediction and classification. If you want to predict something, which is of course you want to do in prototype testing, you want to predict the probability of success of a particular prototype. And second is you want to classify the prototypes, whether it's a good prototype or a bad prototype. So those 2 use cases are going to be very helpful with AI. And automation, if you add a layer of automation on top of this, you can scale it and you can do it faster and repeat the process in a more efficient way. The digital twins, I told you, is a virtual replica of anything you update real. If you have enough data about me as a person, you can create a twin of me online, and then you can maybe test on it, how I answer questions or how I react to certain situations. So that is the concept of digital twin. And you can also test those medical devices in a virtual environment before deployment. This is also a new application area of digital twins that is coming up. So they have advantage of early detection again and cost effective. Once you are able to scale them up, this technology becomes easily accessible. Then it will be very easy to reduce the costs in the long run. Finally, the case study. This is a wearable case study. So they had a similar challenge: low user engagement, frequent device malfunction. So any of us can face this, maybe face this challenge when we are building a healthcare product. So what you will do is, so key challenges faced: technical issues. You have incorrect data readings. Maybe the sensor is malfunctioning. The complex interface is not allowing the users to use it. Then regulatory hurdles. A lot of delays in obtaining necessary certifications, FDAC. This can all be some key challenges you can face if you are stuck in this use case. So how you can apply the solutions? You can go step by step, choose one problem at a time, address it in an iteration. You enhance the sensor calibration, because first you have to improve the data. If you are not able to collect data, then that is a problem. So you prioritize that feature, you improve that, and you have to upgrade the hardware components. Finally, you move to user experience, you redesign the interface, you simplify the instructions, and you deal with the regulation. Once you have sorted out the technical improvements and user experience, mostly regulatory strategies is easier to go through, because they again ask all these things, and it's easier once you have put the initial bricks in place for your building to be built. And this sort of thing you can also achieve with good prototype testing and validation. So this is what you should aim for: early user involvement, iterative testing, and regulatory navigation. Navigation needs a navigator. Uh, I would say if you don't have legal expertise or regulatory expertise, try to get someone on your team who has that. And for ethics, you can always hire a clinical professional or work with them. And because medical ethics is a very big area in itself, and we as medical professionals are taught about it in our medical curriculum, and we practice it day in and day out. So we know how much of it is practical and how much of it is theoretical. So always having a clinical professional on your team is also a good idea. Final poll. So what aspect of prototype testing do you find most challenging? Depending on whatever we discuss, what do you find most challenging? Let us see what our audience feels. So this is the final poll. Few seconds, maybe 1 or 2 votes more. So what aspect of prototype testing: designing effective use cases, collecting user feedback, ensuring regulatory compliance, iterating based on tests. So there's no correct answer, just a poll. So I feel regulatory is the most, so I'm with the audience. Regulatory compliance is the most challenging, and I think if you have sorted it out initially in the testing phase itself, I think a lot of pain can be avoided down the line. Again, if all of these answers are correct, they all are challenging for different kinds of use cases. But then regulatory compliance is something which I even find in my regular dealing with other medical professionals as well. When I'm talking to them, they find regulatory compliance is the most pain point, and they need to evolve as well. Finally, key takeaways. So the critical role you should understand. This is why we started from the why. Why it is important: because it ensures safety of your product, effectiveness of your product, and user satisfaction. And that is the core key concept of design thinking, and why we are talking, because we want our users to be satisfied and achieve the desired outcomes of what we are building for them. That is the main critical role of prototype testing. Then we looked at diverse testing methods. Testing is not just a simple Google form or just sending someone a demo of your product and then asking them feedback. There's a lot of scientific way of going about diverse testing, right from user testing to usability to A and B multivariate testing. Then you have to integrate the user feedback. You have to collect and analyze it. Just conducting testing is not enough. You have to analyze it to get proper insights, and you have to use the correct technology to do that. And finally, you have to do iterative development. You have to do continuous refinement. You have to listen to that user feedback. You have to improve your product in chunks, like the agile methodology. You should do that in multiple iterations, and that is what leads to successful prototypes and healthcare product in the long run. Of course, while doing this, try to balance between the speed and thoroughness of your testing and validation. So next steps I would like to suggest to you after doing this FDP, I would like to encourage collaboration among all the attendees. Many of them might be postgraduate students, research scholars, faculty members, and some industry professionals. So developing a healthcare product or AI product, to say, because since I'm working in AI, I always say that AI is a team sport. It's not that a single person can do everything. They can even design the prototype, then test it, validate it, build the product, ship it out, sell it, get investment. It's all different specific roles. Everyone should know about everything, but then you should always have a collaboration or a team. And I hope in this from this program, a lot of you will develop teams, and you will be able to find your complementary skills in each other, and we'll be seeing a lot of very useful tested, validated healthcare products coming out in times to come. And also, I would like to say that since I'm working in this field, I would like to tell you that the world is going to really change in times to come. Many of the things we do now, or our way of living is, I think, going to be impacted. How much, no one can answer, not even me. It's a singularity event, but then emerging technologies like AI, digital twins, quantum computing, you should always try to stay informed. Even if you cannot use it in present era, maybe 5 or 6 years down the line, they will become usable, and that is where you will get that competitive advantage in improving even your testing and validation process. So I would say just stay informed. If you want to learn anything about AI, I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me, or you can get connected with me through the organizers of this wonderful FDP. So that I would just like to end my talk with this, that innovation in healthcare is not just about creating new solutions. There are enough problems out there, and there are enough solutions for each problem. But then the problem is that they are not adopted, or they are not used efficiently and effectively. And that is why we have this FDP of user design thinking, because that is where we feel that the need gap is, and that can help us. But then we should also always remember that in healthcare, safety, efficacy, and usability through meticulous testing and validation is the key to adoption. This is how medicine has been practiced for hundreds of years. At least the last 100 years, we have developed evidence-based medicine, and everything has to be tested, validated, and to pass the test of the users and their criticism. So you have to go through that process, no matter how painful it is. So just keep that in mind from day one, and I hope and wish you all the best. With that, I will end my session and hand it back to the organizers. If any Q&A is there, I'll welcome that. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful and informative session. If anyone wants to ask any question regarding the session, you can unmute your mic and can ask to the expert directly. And I just want to thank Anirudh Gangadharan, sir. He has shown his gratitude to Dr. Avnish Khare. And now you can ask the questions to the expert directly. After that, we will continue to the next part.
So can I ask the questions?
Yeah, please.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ravi Shankar. First of all, I congratulate you. And we are very thankful for this session. The session was very good. I just want to know about the ABDM compliant. Is it always necessary to have the ABDM compliant in the early phase of the development in any prototype or something?
So I'm not an expert on ABDM, to be very true to you. I have a few companies and friends working on those ABDM compliant EMRs specifically. They are developing a marketplace of ABDM compliant EMRs. And what I understand is there's an entire framework or a process workflow which is prescribed by ABDM, there are steps which you have to fulfill, like level 1, level 2 or something, if I'm not remembering the correct
Yes,
terminology.
yes,
So
yes.
you have to go through that, and that includes your entire testing phase, because during developing those achieving those levels, you will be testing your product, and you will be becoming more and more ABDM compliant. There is like levels of compliance. It's not that ABDM compliant or non-compliant. You will be going through the levels, and depending on that, your product will be more and more usable and adoptable with ABDM stack which is being developed. But I'm not an expert again on ABDM, because I have not worked on ABDM much. But I understand these principles which we discussed today. They apply very much to any healthcare product. I've tried to keep it very general, because if you go into particular specific products, then some things might change, and we might have to look into particular regulations. But that is what I know about ABDM and our relevance of our present discussion to that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
So I really enjoyed presenting this, and thank you to Dr. Eva Ajmera ma'am for reaching out and putting this session. So if anyone has any other question, I'm happy to stay till 7:30. I think we have few more minutes, or otherwise, as organizers feel okay. Are there any questions in the chat? I'm not sure. I could hear some. Okay, I don't think so. I think only people were answering about some. Yeah.
No one.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Someone want to ask anything? I think there is no questions.
No problem. So thank you so much for the wonderful comments, and I think I'll see you again tomorrow for our another interesting session. If anyone has any question later on, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or via the organizers on email. I'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have covered a lot of ground today exploring the critical landscape of testing and validation in product development. From understanding the core principles to delving into various methodologies and best practices, we have seen how these processes are not merely quality control measures, but rather integral components that drive innovation and ensure success. Dr. Avnish has eloquently illustrated how rigorous testing and validation are not just about catching errors, they are about building confidence. Confidence in our designs, confidence in our processes, and most importantly, confidence in the value we deliver to our users. By embracing a culture of continuous testing and validation, we empower ourselves to create products that not only meet expectations but exceed them. Products that are robust, reliable, and trust user centric. Let's remember that testing and validation are not isolated steps in a linear process, but rather a continuous cycle of learning and improvement. So let's take these valuable lessons, apply them to our work, and strive to create products that are not only innovative but also thoroughly tested and validated. A big thank you once again to you, sir, for sharing your expertise and inspiring us all. Now we will wait for a few minutes and then we will further continue toward the next session.
We will just wait for a few more minutes before we move on to our next session. So, quickly moving to our much awaited session on design thinking for digital health and telemedicine. We are honored to have with us Professor Pao N. Xiong as our esteemed speaker. Dr. Xiong earned his PhD in electrical engineering from the National Taiwan University and is currently a professor at National Chung Cheng University, CCU, Taiwan, where he also serves as the director of the Research Center on AI and Sustainability and the Taiwan-India Joint Research Center. Recognized among the world's top 2% scientists by Stanford University for his contributions to AI image processing and computer architecture, he holds a 0.5% lifetime world ranking in hardware software co-design, ranking first in Taiwan and 57th globally in 2024. With over 330 publications in prestigious journals and conferences, Dr. Xiong's expertise has significantly advanced smart system design and deep learning. His contributions have also helped Chai achieve the 2018 Top 7 Smart City recognition. Without further delay, let's welcome Professor Pao N. Xiong to share his valuable insights and expertise through his presentation. Please, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me share my slides. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, Global Institute of Technology at Jaipur, for the invitation to this FDP. I'm very, very happy to be here presenting design thinking for digital health and telemedicine. Actually, I'm not very much into design thinking. I'm a researcher in embedded systems and AI. So what I would like to do is, besides introducing what exactly is design thinking for digital health and telemedicine, I would also like to present a case study, which is actually a research project with the local hospital. So we were working with one of the hospitals here on Parkinson's disease severity. So we used videos and we worked with the doctors in the hospital, and we learned how to design the system so that we could help the doctors as well as the patients and even the caretakers. So I'll present the details of the case study while I'm going through what exactly is design thinking. Okay, so that will be my content. I'm going to do the introduction and then some related work, motivation for this work. And then we're going to talk about the deep learning models that we used and we created for movement disorder evaluation of Parkinson's disease severity. And then some of the experiments, and finally I'll conclude the session. As Dr. Topol, who is a cardiologist in digital health expert and author of Deep Medicine, mentioned that COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated the adoption of telemedicine and digital health, proving that virtual care is not just the future, it is the present. So we know that in any country, there's always a threat of health takers as well as nurses and even doctors. Like for example, in India as well as in Taiwan, there's always a lack of medical personnel, and often like in the emergency units, there are lots of patients who are waiting for beds, waiting for rooms, and even there's a lack of nurses and caretakers. So we would always like to design the healthcare so that not only it can be accessed remotely, but also more user-centric and designed for the actual purpose it was designed for, and not only for just taking some symptoms and some numbers. So that is the whole purpose of design thinking for healthcare. So the main goal is to design a system which is human-centered and user-friendly with effective digital health experiences. This can be done through telehealth platforms and applications. So as far as user-centric innovation is concerned, we would always like to engage the users. The first step is to empathize and understand what are the needs of the users. That the users here, in this case, could be anyone of the patients or the doctors or even the caretakers. So when we know what are the needs of the users, we can start thinking and experimenting with different solutions for innovative digital health. And when we are engaging with the patients or with the doctors or with the caretakers, we'll get the exact concrete requirements, and so that we can design the system. We might not reach or achieve all the requirements of the different users, but through an iterative process, as we've heard just now from Dr. Kare, that from an iterative testing and proving that the system can work for your requirements, this can be done in an iterative way. So user-centric innovation incurs not only empathizing with the user needs, not only designing the system according to what are the requirements of the user, but also to an iterative process. So the key principles of design thinking, from this slide, we can see that there are three. One is defining what are the challenges exactly in the problem that we are trying to solve. So we have to define the challenges first, and then empathize with the user engagement, and finally do iterative prototyping and testing. Okay, so let me go directly to what we did in this project. We are from National Chongqing University. On the left, top left, that is our logo. We worked with a local hospital called the Chai Christian Hospital, and on the right-hand side, you can see it was a doctor, Dr. Xu, from, actually he was a neurologist. So he was the head of the neurology department. So that's why he was one of the PIs, the project investigators in this research project. They often met a problem, I mean the neurologist in this hospital, with Parkinson's disease patients who are on long-term treatment, but they are not, whenever they come to the clinic or to the hospital, the doctors would like to know what is the current status of the Parkinson's disease patient. And normally, as we all know, for Parkinson's disease patients, what happens is their muscles get more and more restricted, and they're not able to move their fingers or even their hands, their forearms, their legs, and even the gait position, that is the position in which they walk, starts getting unstable. There's a slight trembling of the fingers, the hands, the legs, and all the limbs. So, and maybe even the muscles on a patient's face gets so restricted that they cannot smile, or they cannot have emotions on their face. So there are lots of apps actually on estimating what is the progress of the disease, how are the treatments curing the disease, etc. So there's always a concern from the doctors that they're not very sure precisely how the treatments are working on the patients. There's an international standard called UPDRS, and in this international standard, we do what is called as movement disorder estimation or evaluation. So we try to evaluate the movement disorders. Movement disorders means movement in the hands, in the fingers, or maybe even in the legs, or the whole body, the torso. So that was the main challenge. So we got the challenge. We knew about the challenge. We talked with the neurologist in this hospital. There was a group of neurologists, some senior and some was not so senior. So I think there was 3 or 4 doctors. We discussed with them on all the requirements, on what exactly the patients need, what are the problems of the doctors, and how the caretakers can also help. So finally, we because they saw our work on AI, where we were actually doing fall predictions and fall detection of patients or of aged people. So they thought maybe we can use that same technology on Parkinson's disease. So we started with this challenge. We met with the doctors for 2 or 3 times, and we laid out all the requirements. And then we started collecting data set. But before the data set could be collected, we wanted to make sure that whatever data, actually it's video data, the video clips. So whatever video clips we collect, they can actually be used. Because if you collect something and if it is not usable and if there are some problems, then actually it becomes a waste of time. And the doctors, the time of the doctors are very precious. At least they are very busy. Okay, so and they have to take. I mean, the doctors have to assign which patients, what videos to take of which patients. So that was the initial process. What we did was we couldn't engage the patients because we were just starting initializing the whole process. So we used our students. So we had graduate students going to the hospital, trying to imitate the patients, so that the location, the room, and the chair where the patient would be collecting, would be doing some actions and videos being taken. So before the actual patients went to the room and did whatever actions we were supposed to be taking the videos of those actions, we had the students trying to do the job so that we could set up everything. So it was mainly for setting up. So we had to set up the camera, we had to set up the video, we had to also understand how many patients, or determine the number of patients, the number of videos, and also the actions. So as far as the international standard is concerned, which is called UPDRS, there are more than 20, I think more than 30 different actions which can be done using the limbs, the hands, the legs, foot, body, etc. So there are many different actions which can be done. But due to limited budget, limited time, and limited human resources, we didn't work on all of the actions. We just worked on 4 of the actions. So I'll go into what are the 4 actions. I'll show you some videos later on. But at the initial step, we tried to set up the camera. So there were a lot of problems as to what camera to use. Was it of a high resolution camera, or we could just use our phone camera? What will happen if we use an Android phone, an iPhone, etc. So we worked on all the different options. So there are many options, even as to what cameras to use, what resolutions to use. And then for taking the videos, we had to understand, or we had to determine what is the distance from where we can take the video. We didn't want it to be too near the patient or too far from the patient. So we had to decide on distance so that the object or the person in the image is visible, and we can do post detection because it's an action. It's a movement of the patient. So we do post detection. So for post detection, we needed to make sure that the distance was appropriate, the angle of the camera was appropriate. We didn't want the camera too high, installed too high or too low. We wanted to check what was a good height where we could get the highest accuracy. So we did take some initial videos, and the patients were, the objects or subjects, the subjects were just our students. So we worked on different distances, we worked on different heights of the camera, we worked on different angles, different camera types, and even the different video setups, like the length of the video, the format of the video. So we went through all the different options, and then we finally settled on one combination of the different options, so that the doctors or the people who actually it's not nurses, it's just people who are working in the hospital, and they assist. Actually, they are assistants, medical assistants. So the medical assistants will be helping to take the videos. But of course, the doctors have to assign who is going to be the patient where we can take the video. Okay, so that was the whole setup. And then the doctors also decided on the number of patients and what kind of videos to take. Okay, so we discussed with them, and finally we decided on 4 different actions. I'll tell you about the actions later on. This project was initially for 1 year, but because taking the videos, it took, I think, the videos of 60 different patients and 4 actions of each patient. So there was more than 200 or 300 videos. Some of the videos were not so good, so we had to retake it. Anyway, so we went up to more than 300 videos. Finally, after 1 year, we found that the videos were not collected enough, so we had to extend the project. So we went for 2 years, and finally, after 2 years, the project culminated, and it resulted in 1 master thesis, resulted in the promotion of the doctor, and also a publication. So we had a paper published in IEEE Access 2024. So if you're interested, you can always go up and look at the paper. There are lots of details in the paper. Okay, so that was the whole project introduction. Let me start with what exactly we were dealing with in the project. Parkinson's disease, actually, it's a very old disease. I mean, it was named back in the 19th century, so it's more than 200, 300 years. It primarily affects the motor nervous system of a person. The common symptoms are tremors, limb rigidity, reduced motor function, and abnormal gait. Okay, so whenever there's a slight trembling of the hands or the fingers, or if the person cannot walk properly, I think I just found out in our iPhone we can also have predictions of fall, or predictions of instability or instability in the gait postures or gait movement. So abnormal gait. I think even in iPhone we can do that detection now. Okay, so I just switched it on this evening because I found that maybe I'm also getting more and more unstable while I'm walking. Okay, so that happens when people start aging. Anyway, so these are the common symptoms, and the main problem is the nervous system. There are lots of people with Parkinson's disease in the whole world. As you can see from this distribution, at least 10 million people are affected worldwide. And on the right-hand side, you can see the global map of all the countries. And if you see red ones, those are the places where the number of patients is very high. The green ones are I mean, not that high, but still a little high. Okay, and then the gray ones are lower ones. The purple ones are somewhere in between. So you can see the different countries, the different colors, and this means that this problem is very severe, and we do need to tackle it, and the doctors do need help. Okay, so if we are a person from AI or doing any kind of information technology, we can always help the doctors on trying to improve on the treatment of these diseases, and also the evaluation. Actually, we are mainly trying to improve on the evaluation of this disease. As far as Taiwan is concerned, the prevalence in Taiwan is estimated to be between 150 to 300 individuals per 10,000 people. Okay? So 100,000, I'm sorry, per 100,000 people. Okay, So post COVID-19 era, the remote technology has been widely used in many areas. So as far as this disease is concerned, we were thinking what we can do besides helping the doctors. Besides helping the doctors in doing precise diagnosis and checking on the medical treatment, we could also actually extend it for the patients and also for the caretakers. So this is what we did. We had two main objectives. One is to help the doctors to precisely diagnose the movement disorder levels of patients with Parkinson's disease. We referenced the MDS UPDRS rating scale in Taiwan. Actually, the actions are very similar. The international standard and the Taiwan standard are similar, but there are different ways in which we can evaluate. Like the levels, the definition of the different levels could be different here. So the Taiwan version is more suited for the Taiwan patients. MDS here means movement disorder symptoms. Okay, so what we did was we not only classified the patient videos into different severity levels, but we also did historical analysis, and we provided guidelines to the doctors. As far as user-centric design thinking is concerned, what we did was we created an app where the patient himself or herself or the caretakers could just click photos of, not photos, I'm sorry, click videos or take videos of the patients doing one of those actions which we support. We currently support only 4 actions, and the patient can do one of the actions, and we can have an automatic evaluation of how the patient is performing as far as the action is concerned and what is the severity level. Okay? So the patients and the caretakers can also do that without the doctors, so they can do it at home. Okay, so we did a lot of testing with whatever we developed, the AI models and all. It was done across multiple patients and multiple doctors. Advanced AI technologies were employed, and everything was structured into service-oriented architecture. Okay, so as we said, there are 30 to 40, more than 30 different actions, and out of that, we chose 4 of them, 4 movements. One is the finger taps. So finger taps means like this. I'll show you the videos also later on. I can do it first for you. So you can tap the fingers like this. So if you are tapping the fingers, for a normal person, you can tap it very smoothly, and the fingers can be apart for a while, and then touching the index finger and the thumb, it can touch. Okay? But for the patients who have started showing symptoms of Parkinson's disease, he will start trembling. So it will be something like this, trembling. And the other symptom is the fingers might not be able to be parted too far apart. So they can only do this kind of thing. I mean, the action can be very small. The range in which the fingers can be parted will be very small. Okay, so it is actually quite difficult even for AI to detect what is the severity level, because I'll show you the scale later on. We have 0, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So 4 is the most severe. 0 is for a normal person. 1 is a person who has already started showing symptoms of Parkinson's disease. 2 is more severe, and 3 is even more severe. 4 is the most severe. And the problem was it was very difficult for the AI to distinguish how the person is performing each of the movements, because while he's performing the movement, he's also trembling. There are tremors, right? So he's moving like this. So when you do pose detection or key point detection, the key points will be moving in the frame. Okay, so that is also one of the problems. And then the second action is hand movements. Hand movements is okay. Actually, it's the opening and the closing of the hand. It's like this. So for a normal person, you can open your hand, you can close your hand, and you can do it smoothly, and you can do it completely. Like you can fully open your hand and fully close it. But for patients with Parkinson's disease, what happens is they not really start trembling, and they're not very, I mean, it's not easy for them to open their hand and close their hand because their muscles have already started becoming rigid. Okay? So it becomes very difficult. Yeah. And so if the movement becomes the movements become very small, because like this, the movement is very small, and even this the movement is small, or I mean the range in which the key points span over in the video. When the range is very small, then it becomes very difficult for AI to detect. The third one is rapid alternating movements of hands. This is also called supination of hands. So it's just a flipping of the hands. So we flip the hands in the, from upright to down, from up to down like this, or maybe even the other hand. So both of the hands we can do that. And then the last one is leg agility. Leg agility is just sitting on a chair and then moving a leg. Let me show you some videos. Where is it? Here. Okay. Hope you can see the video. This is finger tapping. Actually, these are all patients. We have blurred out their faces so that you don't recognize them. So this is finger tapping. You can see that he's trembling. So actually, this is already a patient with Parkinson's disease. Okay, and this is hand movements. Okay, he's quite. I think she is quite normal. So she's doing good. Then we have rapid alternating movement of hands. Yeah, so I think it's the same lady. So she's also doing it quite good. This is leg agility. Okay, so actually there are lots of problems when we are taking the videos and when we are detecting the actions. What you saw was some cases where it was very clear and it was very easy to detect. Okay, so according to the Taiwan version of MDS-UPDRS rating scale, for each of the items, here we call it items or movements, finger taps, hand movements, rapid alternating movements of hand, and leg agility, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 different levels of severity. 0 means a normal person who does not have any Parkinson's disease. 1 is mild slowing and or reduction amplitude. So the amplitude, the movement of the fingers or the legs is very small. So the amplitude is very small. It becomes smaller. And then for level 2, it's moderately impaired, definite and early fatiguing. So the doctors mentioned one symptom that for level 2, the patients might be able to do whatever movement you want he or she to do initially. So for the first 2 or 3 seconds, he or she can do the action successfully. But after 2 or 3 seconds, he or she, the patient, starts getting tired, fatigued. So because of fatiguing, the action starts becoming smaller and not able to do it. Yeah. So that's called early fatiguing. For a normal person, it's not easy to get fatigued in such a short time because you have good working muscles. But if your muscles are not working, your muscles get tired very easily. So that's why the movements deteriorates very fast. Okay, so initially they can do it, but later on. Yeah, so we had to also go over the whole video for this. Okay, so it becomes a time series. Okay, so we have to do time series detection, not only detection of each phase. And then in level 3, the patient is severely impaired. So there's frequent hesitation in initiating movements or arrest in ongoing movement. So what happens is he's not able to start doing the movement. So initiating the movement becomes very difficult. Okay, so like suppose you want to lift the leg. So for leg agility, then he or she hesitates a lot because the muscle cannot have enough strength. It's so rigid that you cannot have enough strength to start moving. Okay, so that is level 3. And then level 4, we can barely perform the task. Okay, So that was the different levels. And if you're interested, there's a link here where you can check up all the different items in the standard. Okay, I showed you already the videos. Okay, so there are several different related work in this area. We have wearable solutions. Before there were deep learning, like back in 2015, 2017, 2020, people used sensors like orientation sensors, wristwatch, a wearable device, IMU, inertial measurement unit, foot mount, which was foot mounted. So these are all sensors and different types, accelerometers, etc. Okay, so they use those sensors to collect data, and they used SVM, support vector machine, decision tree, to classify the different levels. There was always an classification error of around 20% or 15 to 20%. And then later on, in 2021, people also use LSTM, long short-term memory model for classifying VGRF sensors and HMY scale binary classification. But as you can see, most of them are binary classification. Binary classification means the classification was only between normal and abnormal. So the abnormal patients were not classified further. Okay, so that was one problem. That was sensor-based. We also have related work on vision-based. So vision-based, you can see starting from 2018, 19, 21, they did most of the papers only focused on one action or one movement. Like the reference 5 here, it focused on leg agility. And it used convolutional pose machines, which is based on CNN, and used random forest to do the classification. Then in the other work, as you can see, the other two, they focused on finger tapping. So that was the only movement they focused on, and they did binary classification. So they only differentiated between normal and abnormal. Okay? And the accuracy was around 72 to 80%. Binary classification, it was easier. So they achieved 80% for the left hand and 78% for the right hand. Sometimes it differs for the left and right. And then finger tapping in the 7th reference, they used a three-stream CNN. The accuracy was 72.4%. Okay, so that was related work. What we found in the related work was that there were often a lack of sample observations. There were not enough patients. They used around 10 patients or maybe 11, 12. They didn't use a lot of observations, and the samples were imbalanced across severity levels. Okay. So this was the main problem we found in the state-of-the-art work. So what we did was our target problem was to enhance or improve on the vision-based methods, so that when you're given a video clip of a movement by a patient, we needed to classify it into one of the 5 movement disorder levels, severity levels, 0 to 4, according to the Taiwan version of the MDS UPDRS rating scale. Okay, so that was the exact problem that we targeted at in this work. So we had to set up the camera, as we mentioned just now. We had to collect 4 data sets of video clips for the 4 movements, including finger taps, hand movements, rapid alternating movements of hands, and leg agility. We worked with CYCH. CYCH is the Chai Christian Hospital. Okay, so the setting up the camera was jointly done by CCU. CCU is my university, and CYCH, this hospital. The collection of the data was done by the hospital. And the labeling was done by the neurologists themselves, not by the assistants, because the assistants don't know. So the doctors have to be involved. So the doctors helped with the labeling of the video clips. And then we extracted the features of the videos by counting. We used a feature extraction. Actually, it was a counting model to to extract the features of the videos and then use the features to further classify. Then we proposed a classification model for classifying the features into severity levels. So that was what we did in this project. Okay, so let me briefly go through the whole architecture of what we did. The video clips is inputted to OpenCV, and based on the video features, we used OpenPose to generate all the key points in a JSON file, and then the coordinates of the key points were processed, and we fed the coordinates of the key points to the LSTM model, that is long short-term model. The main purpose of the LSTM model was to count the number of actions from the coordinates, okay, from the coordinates of the key points. And then we proposed a multi-temporal feature average pooling method so that we could feed both this feature as well as the counting model result to a classification model. And finally, from the classification model, we could get the result as to what is the severity level of the patient in the video. So we used the key points from OpenPose as well as especially for the hands, the hand key points also for the finger tapping and the hand related or the finger related movements. So these are all the features that we employed for doing the feature of the LSTM as input to the LSTM. So we had the finger taps, the right hand finger taps, the left hand finger taps, the right hand movements, the left ones, the rapid movement of left and right, leg agility left and right. So these were all the different key points we took, and then we standardized the coordinates. As we all know, this is called standardization or normalization. So we subtracted the mean and divided by the standard deviation so that we could have everything in from 0 to 1. Okay, the LSTM model. This was the whole architecture of the LSTM model. We had 3 layers. We used batch normalization as well as layer normalization, and then in the first layer and the second layer, we also used dropout, and we made a lot of experiments on what was the dropout ratio, etc. And then activation function, we tried with different activation functions, and finally we got a model which was performing better than the other models, and that was the whole counting model for detecting how many actions the person in the video has performed. This was done by one of my master students. What he did was he divided the video into 10 seconds, clips of 10 seconds, and he fed those 10 seconds in a moving video style to the counting LSTM model. So that was the whole method how he did it. Okay, and then he also proposed a multi-temporal feature average pooling where we could have more features, not only the coordinates of the key points, but also how the coordinates perform. I mean, how the different key points or the coordinates of the key points are correlated. Okay, so we also proposed a multi-temporal feature average pooling, and that was used as one of the features for the classification model. The severity level classification model was actually just a fully connected model. As you can see here, we had 3 dense layers with some dropouts, etc. Okay, so after counting using the LSTM model and after getting the multi-temporal feature average pooling, we fed everything to the classification model and we could get the result. So I won't go to the details here. These are just the sliding window representation of how the data was fed into the LSTM counting model. Yeah. So let me go to the experiments. We did some experiments. We collect, as we just said, the hospital collected more than 60 patients' videos, And each patient, we asked him or her to conduct all of the 4 actions. Okay? So this was what we did, and then we used 80% of the data for training and 20% for testing. I asked the student to check on the data set and to come up with some statistics on the data set so that we could better understand what we collected from the hospital. So for each of the movement, the movements are divided into left and right, and we checked on what was the variation in the videos. So the maximum and the minimum and the mean means the number of times the action was performed. So different videos or different patients had different did perform different number of times for the actions. Like minimum was only 1 or 2, or even 3, 6, 8. So some of the videos had very smaller number of times where the action was performed, and some of them, because the patient or the normal person performed it quite fast. So within the amount of time in which the video was taken, they performed as many as 57 times as compared to the minimum time, which was only 9. So there was a big variation on the number of times the action or the movement was performed. And then we calculated the mean. We also come up with the standard deviation, as well as the data quantity, the video quantity, etc. Yeah. So for leg agility, we had only 62, but for finger taps and other finger and hand related, we had more than 70 or more than 70. Okay. Then from the result of the LSTM counting model, we can see that the error rate is quite small for leg agility, but it is currently a little higher. Like the RMSE, root mean square error, is more than 5 for the finger taps. It's around 2 for the hand movements, and around 1 point something for the rapid alternative movements. So it differs for the different actions. As far as the level of severity or the severity levels, we can see that we have a lot of videos for level 0, which is the normal person, and a lot of videos for level 1. And level 2, we have a certain amount of videos. But level 3 and level 4, we couldn't get any because the main reason was the patient couldn't perform anything because it was the most severe level. So the patient couldn't perform, and then there was no purpose on actually clicking the video. So the doctors didn't assign any of the level 4 patients. There were some patients, a very few patients, which was of level 3. So it became very difficult for us because the classes were imbalanced, as we can see here. So the main problem was on how to classify between level 0 and level 1 and level 2, okay? Because level 3 and 4, there's so less videos. So the main problem was this, okay? 0, 1, and 2. Okay. So for what we did was we tried with 3 classes. We also tried with 2 classes. 2 classes was 0, 1 was segregated or divided into 1 class, and 2 and 3, level 2 and 3 was in another class. So for this, we got like accuracy of 77% for finger taps, as you can see from the confusion matrix. And for that was for the left, binary confusion matrix is on the right, and the left one is 0 to 4. So it was for finger taps. It was not performing very good, as you can see from the confusion matrix. 0.29, 0.57, 0.14. So it was not performing very good for level 1. So for level 1, it was not performing very good. Anyway, so the overall accuracy was 77%. If we simplify the problem into a binary matrix or binary classification, the accuracy can go up to 92%, which is better than the state-of-the-art result, which state-of-the-art result you can get only around 85%. Okay, so we also used some explainable AI method like the Shapley values. I don't know what's happened. Where is my video? Just a minute. I don't know what happened. The slide just disappeared. So that was a Microsoft problem. Something happened. The PowerPoint crashed. Okay, so I was talking about finger tapping, and we used Shapley to explain which features affected the result the most. Okay, so as you can see, for each of the different classes, the blue ones is class 0, the purple one is class 1, the red one is class 2, and the green one is class 3, which is the levels, level 0, 1, 2, and 3. So one of the layers, like 17.8, this was affected the whole thing a lot, and then LSTM layer, etc. So there were different features used, and we used Shapley to check which of the features were the most important. So these were the LSTM layers, and we can see that one of the layers was performing very good. So that was finger tap for the left hand, and this is finger tap for the right hand. And similarly, we have the Shapley values. This is for the hand movement. That was the finger tap. This is for the hand movement. So for the hand movements, accuracy is around 77%. Binary accuracy, we can get 92 to 85%. This is also the Shapley values. This is for rapid alternating hand movements, that is the supination movement. The accuracy was lesser because, as you can see, when you're facing the camera, the key points are very difficult to take when you're just flipping your hand. So because of that, the accuracy was lesser. Okay, and it was even lesser for the leg agility. I think it's because of the position or the pose of the patient. When you're sitting, different persons will have different postures on how they sit, and some of them were sitting very straight, some of them were not sitting very straight, and some of them, their legs were wide open, some of them the legs were not so open. So there was a lot of variations in the videos, and we couldn't do a very good training. This is what we achieved, 50 to 58% accuracy. So this is an overall comparison of what we did with the state-of-the-art work. But as you can see from the state-of-the-art work, most of the work are focusing only on single actions, single movements, like right fingertip taps, left finger taps, or finger taps, etc. But we focus on all four, and this is the result we got. On the right-hand side, you can see the percentage of accuracy. So we compared the multi-class classification accuracy, also the binary classification accuracy. Yeah, so that was the experiments, and we had a lot of experience in dealing with the doctors and how the patients' videos were taken and all. I didn't go into the details of the app, but we did some experiments with the app, and and we found that the caretakers as well as the patients, they were very willing to use the app. They're still on the experiment stage of how the apps can be tested further, but that part is still we're still working on that. Okay. So the conclusion is that we proposed a novel feature extraction method called multi-temporal feature average pooling, which is more suitable for temporal models. Yeah, this is the accuracy we got for each of the different movements. Future work is we would like to add more related task models, sophisticated model, and more data, even more balanced data set, and more accurate function and activation function. So these were all the references. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, I can take questions. Thank you.
If anyone have any question, please ask.
Hi.
Hello.
So how this approach is
Does
different?
anyone have any question?
Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone is also already asking.
Yeah. So deep learning based approach versus using EEG and MRI or fMRI. So these approaches, like which context, what is useful actually? Like no.
Thank you for the question. Actually, EEG are signals, biosignals, and MRI are magnetic resonance imaging. So it's an imaging signal. They are used for different purposes. Like EEG is used to check if your heart is working properly. MRI is used for checking if your lungs, your stomach, or whatever organs, the internal organs are, if they have any tumors or any other things. So those are more like signals and data format. We can always apply deep learning on MRI data, even on EEG signals. So there's no conflict. They are just different data used for representing different symptoms in your body. So it could be, we could apply deep learning to check if there are tumors. They could be good tumors or bad tumors, and that could be done using MRI and deep learning. And if you're talking about your heart rate or your HRV, heart, I forgot the full form, HRV values of your heart, then
Heart rate variable.
you could use EEG.
Yeah. The one
Or
thing
ECG.
in the context of Parkinson disease progression, okay, whether deep learning based approach, whatever you explained, that replaces EEG or any other medical device being used in clinical settings.
Oh, it's not for replacing any of the medical devices. It's more like helping or aiding, helping the doctors to give more precise diagnosis of whatever he's trying to do in the when he's checking the patient. So just like when you're doing diagnosis of a patient on using other data, the AI always helps. So the AI was for helping the doctors.
Okay. So the meaning actually, so whatever tool developed actually, so deep learning based tool developed, that is being used for medical purposes, right? So it is also a medical device.
You can always integrate into medical devices, but you have to go through also all kinds of certifications.
Okay. Yeah, I got it actually. So whether this can be used as a medical device in addition to existing tools like EEG and MRI for treatment to treat
we have not
patient.
gone through the certification. This was just a research project, so the doctors can use it, but it's not for medical purposes. It's more like assisting the doctors in doing more precise diagnosis. So we cannot guarantee that this is as accurate as the medical devices.
Oh, okay, thank you. But in the down the line future, some possibility to use it as a medical device.
Yeah, but we'll have to work more on it, because currently we have
For
only
approval
focused
and
on four movements. So the other movements have also to be considered.
Okay, thank you.
If anyone else has any question.
Dipti Sharma, hello.
Am I audible to you?
Yes.
May I know what is the biggest difference between the deep learning and machine learning? A major difference.
Yeah, very good question. Actually, it's a very old question, because machine learning was the technology which we used to program computers so that they could learn themselves. But the main problem back when we were using machine learning was because we had to describe all the features. Like, for example, if you're talking about distinguishing a cat from a dog, you had to program into your programs, or write into your programs how exactly a cat looks like. Like, for example, the ears, the whiskers, the mouth, etc. So you had to describe everything. I'm just giving an example. For all
Yes,
other
I'm getting.
domains also similarly, you had to describe all the features. Describe means you have to write it into the programs. That was the main problem. So you needed expertise. You needed someone who was an expert in that area, and he or she could describe exactly the features, and then the programmer programmed everything into the program, and then the machine learned using those features. That was machine learning. But deep learning, the feature extraction is not done by a human being. So it's not done by an expert. So we don't need the expert. What we do is, of course, we need the expert for labeling or for telling us what exactly it is, but we don't need the expert to describe what are the features, and so the programmers don't need to program the features. The feature extraction is done automatically by the deep learning model. So that is the main difference. The feature extraction, it was done manually. Manually means not by hands, but we had to write the program. So we had to write everything into the program. That was in the machine learning. In deep learning, feature extraction is done automatically. So that's why now the whole application of deep learning has gone into all different kinds of domains, because we didn't need the experts in the domain. We just needed enough data. Like, for example, if it is a cat, we just needed 1 million images of the cat, and then the feature extraction was done automatically. So if you have enough data, the feature extraction can be done automatically by the deep learning model, CNN, RNN, etc.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Hello, can I ask a question, Professor?
Sure.
See, there are a lot of corrupted data available in data sets. So I would just like to know which type of learning system, like machine learning or deep learning, is more, capable to avoid or, filter these corrupted data from the data sets.
This is called data cleaning. So for cleaning
Yeah.
data, actually it's a very tedious job. You need a lot of work. So what we usually do is we can use a simple model, any of the models, DNN, RNN, CNN. It depends on what data you're trying to clean. So if it is image data, or if it is signals or whatever, or numerical data, what we can do is we can input all the data, the whole the data set, or a part of the data to the model, and do an initial classification or an initial. It depends on what you are doing. classification, regression, whatever we're trying to do. So we can do an initial solution, and then we can compare which ones are and which ones are not correct. And then if there's big variancy, we can try to remove those which are not correct. So we can do cleaning using a semi-supervised method. So by semi-supervision, we can gradually clean the data.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I guess there are no more further questions, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for the
Thank you
opportunity.
so much, sir. Thank you, Professor
Thank you,
Pao
sir.
and Shiv,
Thank you. Thank you.
for such an insightful and inspiring presentation on design thinking for digital health and telemedicine. Your expertise and passion for this field truly stood out, leaving us with a deeper understanding of how design thinking can transform healthcare. The case study on Parkinson's disease was particularly incredible, so innovative and thought-provoking. It undoubtedly captured everyone's attention, showcasing your vast expertise and real-world experience. The way you articulated complex concepts and demonstrated their real-world impact was truly remarkable, sir. I feel extremely privileged to have attended this session. Your passion for this field is contagious, and your insights will surely inspire many of us to explore and apply design thinking in our work. We sincerely hope for such more sessions with you in the future, as it would be an honor to continue learning from your knowledge and experience. Once again, thank you, sir, for your valuable time and the immense effort you put into making this session a truly enriching experience for all of us. And to everyone in the audience, thank you for your active participation and enthusiasm. Let's carry forward these insights and work towards shaping the future of digital health and medicine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
So, as we wrap up day 4 of the ATAL Faculty Development Program, I hope you all feel inspired and energized after today's insightful and impactful sessions. We explored the power of design thinking in digital health and telemedicine, along with the importance of testing and validation in turning innovative ideas effective healthcare solutions. These sessions provided valuable insights and real-world applications, making for a truly enriching experience. A heartfelt thank you to our remarkable speakers, the organizers, and our engaged audience for making today a success. Your enthusiasm and participation added immense value, and we look forward to more such inspiring sessions ahead. Stay curious, keep learning, and continue striving for excellence. Best of luck in all your future endeavors. Take care and see you tomorrow with 2 such extraordinary sessions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.